Today, I will be interviewing the University of Washington women's basketball coach, Adia Barnes, and I'm going to ask her a couple questions of things we learned this quarter. Adia, do you give me permission to interview you?
Yes, I do give you permission, Hannah Johnson.
Okay, so my first question is I want you to talk about the demographics of where you lived, the schools you went to growing up, and if being part African American affected your education opportunities.
So the demographics, I grew up in a small, like in San Diego, California, in kind of a beachy area. It wasn't, now looking back, it wasn't tremendously diverse, but being biracial, I grew up with my mother, because my mother and father were divorced. I grew up with a Caucasian mother in a pretty much Caucasian area. And what was the second part of the question?
Just if like being part African American affected your education opportunities.
Well, and it didn't affect my education opportunities because of the demographics of where I grew up. So I grew up in it's considered middle class area. So I got a great education, but I don't think I even understood the difference of like being biracial or what it was or what it was about, because I just thought like I didn't really look at myself as any different. I knew my hair was different, but I didn't really understand. So the education was good. Wasn't great, I think but it was good. But there was a significant difference in the inner city schools and their education and just like their facilities, and it's a big difference. But I wouldn't have known it at the time, and I just know it from a school that was in a beach area, predominantly a white school. When we went to go play in the inner city, the predominantly black or Hispanic schools, it was very intimidating, and it was much different. It was kind of a scary thing. So looking back, it's just weird of how we thought back then.
Wow, okay. So, being a part of a basketball team, in obviously you played high school basketball, you played at Arizona College, and you also played professionally. I was wondering if you ever experienced any form of racism or segregation, not with just yourself, but maybe teammates.
No, I didn't. I didn't where I grew up because, like I said before, I didn't really know the difference. I knew my mom was white and I was mixed, but I didn't really know. I tried to do my hair like hers. Like my hair it was harder to do. It was like my mom had bangs, so I had like puffy bangs. Back then, there wasn't as many stuff for like mixed people. There wasn't as many hair stuff. There wasn't as many like style. It was just different. I never really knew how different I was. I knew I was a little tanner. I knew that like I was different, but I didn't really understand. I think I started to understand in high school when like there was like a little bit of more segregation, a little bit amongst just athletes and stuff. And the time that I really felt it was my mom's sister, so who was also Caucasian. I went to go visit them in Chicago. Chicago is very different than San Diego, California, and that was the first time like I really experienced racism. And it's funny because my mother's family was pretty racist. It was a big problem when she married my dad. So my aunt, they were a little bit racist, but they loved me because I was different. Um, but I remember being at a neighbor's house playing, and when I was playing, like they called me a nigger, and like I was like I like mixed. You didn't really. It wasn't like I was like I wasn't dark or anything. But that was the first time, and I cried and cried. I didn't really understand what was going on or what happened. That was the first time, and it was funny because I went to my aunt who was pretty racist, and she was so upset. So I think it was her first time understanding, and she changed after that, because then she went to the neighbor's house and was like, "What's going on?" Like went off on the people. It was a big problem. I cried. So I think that was her first time being a little bit racist herself, and then changing because it hurt her because it hurt me. But that was the only time that ever happened to me growing up, and it was pretty traumatic. I was in fifth grade.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And like being on, I know because we in class we read a book called The Hustle, and it was about combining basically like the city kids with the nicer area kids, so white and blacks, combining them together on a team. Like, was there ever any time that you had teammates who were fully black that were like there was discrimination against them?
Yeah, there were times, and I think well, honestly, looking back, there wasn't like I had like one teammate who looked back and she was actually Samoan, so we didn't have a lot of black teammates.
Okay.
So I didn't really know. I didn't see it. But I think as I got older, I started to see the difference. And like in high school, we didn't really understand. You're kind of younger. But in college, I saw the difference because I saw like black athletes. I saw like how like you were supposed to kind of choose more. I don't think it was ever a thought in high school. I do think there are differences. There is like there are a lot less opportunities. The schools weren't as good. The facilities weren't as good. Like I didn't notice that more until later, looking back. At the time, I kind of knew it was in a bad area, but I didn't really understand. And what was the second part of the question?
So would you agree that like now, do you think there's more people are more aware of racism nowadays than like back then when you were playing?
I think more aware. I think it's just different. I think it's like the our generations are more educated. Like, there's a lot more mixing. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and that's one of the things I saw about back in back east in Chicago. There wasn't a lot of mixing.
Yeah.
Like in California, where I'm from, it's more diverse, so it's more accepting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I saw a lot more segregation. Like going back to Chicago when I was in fifth grade, I didn't really see that where because I was in the beach area,
Mm-hmm.
but then there wasn't a lot of black people in the area.
Yeah.
I think now it's more accepting. It's just more education, but it's still there. And I think that what I've noticed now is like being biracial. Sometimes my hair is really curly. Sometimes when it's straight. I've been in small cities recruiting,
Mm-hmm.
and the people were really nice to me because I don't think they knew what I was.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm really fair skinned, but like you, we're both pretty fair.
Yeah.
Um, and then I remember being in a subway and there was like a black family behind me and they were treated really rude and like the lady was so
Wow.
nice to me. But that's not stuff I ever noticed growing up because I didn't. It was just different. So
Yeah.
I wonder how it's going to affect my son too because now my son's a quarterback, but I don't know if he'll look black or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I think getting older, you're more aware of things.
Yeah.
But I think it was better just being young and dumb about it.
Yeah. Okay, so you being a college coach now, and you obviously mentor a lot of student athletes, including myself. Do you think service learning is important, and how could it benefit me as a student athlete and just going to these schools and helping out these kids?
Service learning is extremely important. I think the first thing is, as a collegiate athlete, you have to give back. You're in a situation you're very fortunate that a lot of people love to be in your shoes and they're not. You're getting over a $200,000 education. So I think giving back, mentoring, and being out in the communities is extremely important. I think the other lesson that it taught me, looking back, is teaches you how to communicate, teaches you how to talk in front of classes, teaches you how to present yourself, represent yourself, um, and your university and your team. I think it teaches so many lessons that are valuable for life, and you always have to be willing to do service learning and serve people because I think that's what you do as a coach, that's what you do as a player. I think that you don't take any of that for granted because there's a lot of people that wish they can do it. There's a lot of little girls that have dreams, and you can maybe help shape one little girl's life. Then it's extremely rewarding.
Exactly.
And I love being a mentor. I think some people don't like it. I love it. I love the fact that I came to coach here, and I didn't even know until 2 years coaching that Talia, like, had a picture of me from years ago. And Mercedes
Wow.
Whitmore had, like, I didn't remember them because they looked different 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think that that's cool. If I can touch or influence or motivate or help a little girl get through a hard time or a little boy, I think it just makes that's what you're supposed to do in life. I
Yeah.
think.
Exactly.
So I love it, and I think that all the athletes need to do it, should do it, and should take pride in doing it.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's it, Adia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Taking Anthropology 369 this quarter was one of the best opportunities for me. I was able to develop some leadership skills and read the book called The Hustle, which was awesome, especially me being a basketball player. It was about a basketball team. I had the opportunity to participate in some service learning and just I I learned a lot of skills this quarter that is going to help me in the long run because I want to become a coach. So especially the leadership and getting up and talking in front of people, which is going to be needed when I become a coach. It was just a lot of things that helped me. So this quarter, I worked at a school called Sandpoint Elementary School. This was part of the service learning, and this was an amazing opportunity. It was basically the school is 8 minutes down from Heck Ed, which is our basketball gym. So there's many Husky fans there, and I was just happy that I was able to give back to the community or to these kids and just bring my knowledge. It was awesome because I would go 2 to 3 hours a week and basically whatever the teacher wanted me to do, which for the most part it was reading to the kids. I would sit and read with them. Kids who have learning disabilities, she would want me to go to the side and help them extra. So it was awesome to see that the opportunity is there for kids
who might learn slower, which I was in that boat when I was younger, and I went to a school where I was able to get extra help. So just like, and it was cool that she was able to trust me to help these kids. It was also awesome because I got to see like the demographics of the school. There, it was, it's pretty. It's like a middle class area, but they have kids who come from different countries. I mean, it's crazy. They also teach many different languages, but they have these kids from different countries. They have housing for them on the side, right next to the school, and the opportunity though for the education for everybody was, it was pretty equal. I mean, in the classroom that I worked in, I could see that um, everybody was treated fair and well, and like the teacher wouldn't give, if somebody didn't speak that great of English, she helped them out. Like she would tend to the education needs. Um, but Sandpoint, it was a very diverse school. I mean, you had kids like I said from different countries, and everybody was treated fairly equally. So I think that doing the service learning is something that has helped like develop my leadership, just because I have to go in and take initiative. Like I need to talk to the teacher and ask her what I need to do, or I need to be a leader to these younger kids. And this is something that has benefited me just even in like my sport now and life now in general, just being that leader, because it's like I the like I was almost like another teacher to these kids. So or I mean, I can even think about it as being a coach, that these kids would look up to me, and I can help them out. Um, so that's something that I feel like doing the service learning has helped me just take that next step in just developing those leadership skills. So, reading The Hustle this quarter was a big eye opener to me and just made me look at certain situations now. So, the book was basically an experiment of putting white boys and black boys together on a basketball team and just seeing what it was like to have a team like this. So I look now and I go to some high school games and I see how you have a team from Tacoma who's predominantly black, and then you have a team from Bellevue who's predominantly white. And obviously, those who are from Seattle, I'm not from Seattle, but I've been here long enough to realize that I've been to Tacoma and Bellevue, and that Bellevue is more on the nicer side, and Tacoma is not. It's not that nice of an area. It's more you have some lower class areas there. So I go to a game and you see Bellevue with predominantly white boys, and Tacoma with predominantly black, is playing the same sport. But one question I ask myself is, are they getting the same education opportunities? Because Bellevue is a nicer area. You have kids who can afford education, afford nicer schools, but then you have these African American kids who might not be getting the same education opportunities. I went to a private high school, which was a very big school on sports, and it was like if you were good at our school was 2,200 a year, because it was a private school. But if you were good at a sport, then you could have a chance to get on a scholarship. And I think, and the scholarship opportunities for regular students was very limited. Which I look now, and me being an athlete, obviously, I'm very fortunate. But I think it's crazy how some of these kids who aren't fortunate enough to be an athlete, or weren't blessed with this gift, that they don't have the same opportunity as some of us do. And I mean, this isn't just for athletes either who are, because I went to a school where it was a big sports school. So let's say that you have a private school that doesn't really look at sports like that, but you still want your kid to get a good education. It's like, why can't the opportunities there be given to everybody? And that's one of the biggest things. Like, in the hustle reading how there were kids in the inner city or and then you had the kids in the nicer area and how the different of education was. Obviously, like I said before, working at my school, um, education opportunity was it, it from what I saw was pretty equal for everybody. So, but I've been to certain schools and I've seen how education is is just like limited to those who nowadays can afford it, and that goes back to race, class, opportunity. Like, I, the truth is, like, some African Americans can't afford that type of thing, and just because they're African American and they don't have the money, they're lower class, like they're limited to this education. It's something that this quarter I became more aware of. I didn't know that much about it before. Like, I in high school I saw, like, I realized, okay, well, me being an athlete, I get an opportunity, and that's just really what I saw. I was kind of blinded by non-athletes, and like taking this class made me really take a step back and realize, whoa, like it was really like this back when I was in high school. Thank you, Holly, for providing this class for me. I was so amazed and just amazed at everything that I learned and the opportunity that was there. I mean, the service learning opportunity was awesome and something that me being a student athlete here, that's something that I need, and developing those leadership skills. One, as a student, you need to have leadership. As a person, leadership, and as an athlete, also, there needs to be leadership. So I have taken the skills I learned in this class, the information, things I had never learned before and I wasn't really aware of. It's opened my eyes, and I'm just very thankful. And I've taken a lot of this information, and I'm going to apply it every day in my everyday life as a student athlete person and moving forward as I want to become a coach. So thank you so much.